Today we welcome Reverend Joshin Bachoux, who started zazen at the age of 30 and very quickly became the most important thing in her life. And 2 years after, she went to Japan with the decision to become ordained and live in a temple. And she was lucky enough to be accepted at Moriyama's temple in the middle of the mountains, and which was a temple of practice living on alms. And while she lived in Japan, the Roshi sent her to California for 3 months to visit the Soto Zen temple there. And there she met Katagiri Roshi, who was good friend with her master. And she was very impressed by his presence and his teachings. And then after several years of practice, she received the Dharma transmission from her master, and he asked her to return to France to open a branch of his temple. And then she lived there for 20 years, and 70 years ago, she passed it on to her disciples. And now she practices mainly on YouTube and with small groups for retreats. Welcome, everyone. And the title of her talk today is Living in Darkness, Living in Light.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say how I'm very glad to be here. And I want to thank Tejo-san for giving me this opportunity to be here and to talk with you in person this time. So that's really nice. So I choose this idea of living in darkness, living in light, because I think that we never have enough light in our life, you know. Before I was ordained, my first name was Lucy, and this means light. And I was very impressed when I saw how much in all the teaching, in all the Buddha's history, light is present. Of course, it starts with a morning star, you know, this morning star that Buddha saw one morning, and it was just blinking a little, and suddenly all the light of all the universe entered or was the Buddha somehow. This is his enlightenment. And so from the very beginning, Buddhism gave a name to this light, and it's Vairocana. Vairocana is a Sanskrit term meaning resplendent, great sun. And the Buddha, Vairocana, is this universal Buddha, primordial. Sorry for my English, it's not easy for me. It's the first Buddha, primordial or primordial Buddha, you know what I mean? And this is a basic Buddha somehow. And it concentrates all the qualities of enlightenment of all the Buddhas, Buddha of the past, of the present, of the future. And it is spreading the light of his knowledge throughout the totality of worlds. That's what the sutra from the Yuan school, the Flowery Ornament Sutra, says. And there's one thing that really touched me always in the Buddha's history. You know, the Buddha was sitting, and there were disciples around, and he would talk, he would give a teaching. And then at the end, the people there would say, that's marvelous. It's like bringing a lamp into the darkness. So the teaching of the Buddha is really bringing a light in our darkness. And I really understood this image when I was in my master's temple, we spoke about in Japan, because it's a temple without electricity. And it's a pretty dark place all the time because there are many, many trees around, you know, and it's pretty dark all the time. But in winter, there is no more than 3 or 4 hours of light. And then you live with candles, you live with oil lamps, and of course, flashlight. And what struck me was that the importance first of the light. Even if you put a small lamp oil in the zendo, it will illuminate all the zendo, you know. And in Japan, the temple, I saw that if you want to go from one point in the temple to the zendo, you have to go through outside. Just like imagine a small bridge going around the temple, and then you arrive in the zendo. When you do that, in the winter, you have your flashlight, and you start your flashlight. And what you will see is that all the dark, you have a small lamp light, you have a small light in front of you, you know, and all around it's darker. It's darker. You have your flashlight and the surrounding is darker than without light, you see? And Master Dogen, this helped me to understand when Master Dogen says, it's a light that makes us see the darkness. He adds that the Buddha's way is not about going towards the light, as we could think, but it's about seeing our darkness. So the more light we have in ourselves, and the brighter and darker is our darkness. This means that the more we see zazen, and the more we discover our delusions, our ignorance. And it's funny because even very often when people start zazen, they say, "Oh, I like zazen," but it makes me think, and that makes me smile because this thinking is always there. But the light of zazen will just illuminate this darkness in our life, in our mind, and it will illuminate even a little light, even a few minutes of zazen will illuminate, will put a light in all the I don't know how to say, all the mess or the jumble that we have in our mind, So Master Dogen says, we have to see illumination as a radiant light illuminating delusion everywhere and on all sides. Just as moonlight illuminates the earth at night. I like this idea of moonlight because, I think we sometimes imagine that what Japanese people love is cherry trees, cherry flowers and everything. But I think that what really they love is a moonlight. It's very different from the sunlight, When there's a strong sun, everything is, I don't know how to say, it's just pressed somehow. There is very, very dark and the light is very strong. But with the moonlight, just you do once, you try. You go in the forest, when it's full moon and you walk and you will see there is a very soft light. And this light is very, how to say, it illuminates, really, I don't know, permeates or everything. There is not this strong distinction as the sun, as the sunshine, So they love it. Japanese people, they love it. The first moon of September, the first full moon of autumn, they go into the parks and it's called tsukimi, go to see the moon and they sit in the park and of course they bring some sake or something and they sit there and they just, look at the moon. That's enough. You just look at the full moon. It's wonderful. So there are 1,000 poems about the moon, and most of the poems they say, "Oh, I was looking at the moon and then some clouds came and I couldn't see the moon anymore." Or other poem, "Oh, I went to see the moon, but it was all cloudy and I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there behind the clouds," So we could have this idea through these poems about the moon and the clouds, that it's just as a brilliance, as a light of our mind, as our Buddha's nature is here, but he's hidden sometimes by patience, desires, and so on, the three poisons, yes. And so that we have to clean and clean and clean again with zazen, so that our light, this moonlight, this inner Buddha, or whatever you call it, nature of Buddha, will really shine, yes. All delusions, all thoughts, emotions disappear. Oh, it's a light, no more problem. How nice. How nice, yeah. But then it will never happen. That's what Master Dogen said. It will never happen. And when I was writing this, I thought, are clouds really hindrances? Because if you look at clouds, in the sky, you will see how they change shape, how they disintegrate, how they disappear. And I wonder if the hindrances in my life, that I could see so clearly during the Zen, were really, okay, I'm not sure, my vocabulary in English is very small. Yeah, are these all hindrances that I can see, that for me are a problem that I cannot see the light? Are there really obstacles? I mean, are they really strong as a wall? Or are they like clouds? That means they have no solidity. They have no real, they will just appear, disintegrate, reappear, another form, and so on. I don't know if it's clear what I want to say. Yes, we can imagine things that are very strong, and I'm definitively in some kind of very small place and with walls all around. Or I can just see that these thoughts, emotion that I often don't like, are just like clouds, They don't hide anything. They are part of the whole world. Moonlight, cloud, earth, sky, everything. It's just one. So I don't have to fight. I don't have to try to go through, this with force somehow. I just have to sit. And this thought emotion, they will appear, float a little, and then disappear, and another will come, and that's just it, because we know, and that's really basic of teaching, that through our very imperfection, we are Buddhas in the making. And it's really, I think, a mistake to want to remove this imperfection when we start on a spiritual path. Because this perfection that we are looking for, it's absolutely unattainable in this world of samsara. We are just as we are, as human beings, and as Buddhas in the making. You probably know Sendo Rikyu. He was a Zen master, he was a tea master. He was very famous. He's the one who prepared the tea ceremony as we have it now. And he, before the tea ceremony, when you invite people for tea ceremony, you would clean and clean and clean again. And then you especially clean the garden. You would put every paper exactly at its place, and then you will make it beautiful and clean. But Sendo Rikyu, who knew better, he wrote, sweep and sweep again, always invisible, grains of dust on every leaf. We must sit zazen, but if we want to sit zazen for sweeping and sweeping again, in the hope that all these clouds will disappear, there will always be grains of dust on every leaf, on every moment in our life, So I think that this sentence of Master Dogen, it is a light that makes us see the darkness, is inspiring because it shatters all our delusions. And that's a good way to shatter our illusion, So we are sure that these three poisons somehow, our ignorance, or our anger, jealousy, envy, and so on. And we have to somehow make them like clouds, not try to break them as if there were walls. Suzuki Roshi had a very incredible way to explain this to his students. Once he taught during the session, he talked to all his students and he said, you are perfect, exactly as you are. All students said, wow, I couldn't imagine that, And then he continued and he would add, and each of you can still improve a little. That's it. That's the first side, So, light and dark, moon and clouds, Buddha and us. Are we really? Is this really separated? We see them separated because we want the moon light and we don't want the darkness. And we think, okay, here is the moon, here are the clouds, But I think there's another way of thinking this, to find that it's all one. They are not separated because light illuminates the darkness. It doesn't erase it, to show something hidden under. It just illuminates everything. And Hakuin, I like to quote lots of other masters, it gives me some stuff. So Hakuin, Hakuin, some Rinzai master, he wrote something that is, I'm not sure how you call it in English, prayer of zazen or song of zazen or something like this. And it starts by telling, from the beginning, all beings are Buddha, like water and ice. No water, no ice. Without us, no Buddha. And then he said, and this is very, I can hear it very well, how close is the truth, and yet how far we seek it. So one of Master Dogen's favorites, another sentence, is nothing hidden in the whole universe. This explains the illuminating, penetrating power of this radiant light, you know. This is not to say, again, that this light was erased. You understand the darkness. No, that's important because it is very easy to believe, okay, I will bring the light and everything that I cannot see will disappear somehow, you know. But no, it will just that this hidden thing do not become visible because they were visible at first. You know, light and darkness are just like one, like two faces of one coin, you know. So another person I like to quote is Jin Kim. He's a Korean American master, and he has a way of talking about Dogen that I really like. Okay, so he says, what light does then is to perpetually illuminate and penetrate the abyssal depths of darkness in a process, that's the main word, in a process of ever-open dialogue between light and darkness. It's a process, you know. It's not that one up arrives and everything, if the other side disappears. It's a process. It's something always, it's a dynamics somehow, something always moving, always changing. And he's concluded this telling that this is the intimacy between light and darkness. And intimacy, intimate, is a word that Master Dogen uses all the time. He often said, you have to be intimate with yourself. And that was really a con for me, you know. What does that mean, being intimate with myself, you know? So be intimate with my whole self. So I'll give it to you. You just think, you will think about. I like this idea of intimacy with oneself. So here is a paradox. The deeper you enter into enlightenment, and the clearer you see your own frailties and limitations. The great enlightenment is always intimate with, nonetheless deluded. That's what Master Dogen said. So what do we do with all this in our daily life now? That's the question now. So, radiant light. This is the title of a Sobo Genzo chapter, Komyo. He speaks of the radiant light of the Buddhas, which is found in every blade of grass and which feels, or fulfills, I'm not very sure of the difference between to feel and to fulfill. Okay, so every blade of grass is filled or fulfilled with this radiant light of the Buddha. In Japanese, there are two ways to say light, and I would like to show, because sometimes showing how it is written is a good way to understand. The first way to understand this is this. This. You see here, so here is a sun. The small one is a sun. And beside it, the big one is a moon. As I said, I like the moon more than the sun, you know, even if it doesn't seem logical. And so if you put the sun and the moon together, this means all the light of the universe, you know. So that's the first part. And the second part is this. You see, there is some, like an altar somehow, you know, something to elevate, you know. And then there are these three strokes. And for me, these three strokes are the rays of the sun, you know. So here we have all the light of the universe. And here we have this light in action, you see. And both together makes Komyo, the title of this chapter in the Shobogen. So we have the light that is, and we have the light that acts somehow, you see. So this is important because in this chapter, he says that The original radiant light shines inside each of us. It illuminates our life, and this is the light of the whole universe that shines inside and outside of us, you know. So that part is mu, radiant light, you know, and with ko. That means radiant light always, how to say, always in activity somehow, you know. It's not, that's why it was interesting that Kim said process, because there is a light and there is the activity on the light. And it goes together, makes the radiant light that is all universe, including us. Would you read the poem, please, Master Dogen's poem? Can you hear me?
Yep.
The radiant light of the Buddhas fills the whole universe. All is Buddha. This radiant light can be found in every blade of grass. It harmonizes roots and flowers. The whole world is filled with it. Practice and awakening are a form of radiant light. Smoke, mist, water, stones, birds, the path of awakening, all these are changing forms of radiant light.
Mm-hmm. I love this poem. This is one of really my favorite in Master Dogen's poem. Well, so the question now, I think, is how does this radiant light relate to our human lives, and what do we make of it? Or more precisely, what does it make of us, you know? So I will ask to Tejo-san to read some extract from this Komyo chapter of the Shobogenzo. Would you please?
One day, the great master Yunmen, addressed the assembly of monks and said, "Everyone, without exception, has radiant light. Yet, when you try to see it, you don't. It's completely invisible. What is this radiant light of everyone?" No answer came from the audience. Then he spoke for them. The monks' hall, the Buddha hall, the kitchen, storeroom, the monastery door.
Mm-hmm. So this radiant light is invisible for us, but it says it is everything. And I like the example it gives because it means all spaces and everything that is included in these spaces is this radiant light. Monk's hall, every monk is this radiant light. Buddha hall, Buddha, of course. Kitchen, storeroom, daily life, you know, whatever we use for daily life is this radiant light. And it says a monastery door. Monastery door is used to come in and come out. When you go out in the world, when you go through the monastery door, you find the radiant light also. So there is no difference. Wherever there is absolutely no difference. All the world is radiant light. Then Master Dogen, this was Yunmen, Master Yunmen quotation. Then Master Dogen will give a commentary about it. Thank you.
Continued Master Dogen, when this great master says, every person without exception has radiant light.
Excuse me, there is one part before. When this great master says,
when this great master says, every person without exception has radiant light. This does not mean this light will appear in our future, nor that it was in our past, nor that we can observe it in the present. You need to hear clearly what it says. Every person originally has the radiant light. Gather hundreds or thousands of Yunmens, and they'll say the same thing in unison. Because what Yunmen said is not just a personal speech. It's what each person's radiant light utters as it unfolds and employs itself in concert with others for the good of others.
Mm-hmm. Every person originally has the radiant light. That means that understanding that we are Buddha. In making, originally, we are Buddha. Understanding this is a wisdom, it's prajna, that we are Buddha. But then he continues and he says, each person in radiant light unfolds and employs itself in concert with others for the good of others. We have prajna, and immediately we have compassion. We have wisdom, we have compassion. They work together. Moriyama Roshi used to say, this is like the two wings of a bird. You have prajna, you have compassion. So this radiant light is both understanding our Buddha's nature. This is the first part, I would say. This is new. And then put it in action for the good of the others, and this is cool. Would you? Every person without exception.
Every person without exception has radiant light means that a complete person originally has radiant light. Radiant light is every person and all persons. Everyone deploys and employs radiant light in every circumstance. For this reason, radiant light shines within everyone without exception. Each light, individualized, originally shines with each person. Each person is authentically who he or she is. Each being is just as it is, completely. So you should know that the radiant light everyone has without exception relates to each particular individual, that individual person inside whom an individual light shines completely. Yunmen himself asked, what is this radiant light of everyone? And this question is none other than the radiant light itself, because it challenges its subject to the very end. So when someone asks this question in this way, he or she has his or her own light.
Radiant light shines within everyone without exception. We are not different. We are all the same. We are all radiant light. But then it says, this radiant light everyone has without exception relates to each particular individual. We are all the same, and we are all particular, precise, the special or whatever individual. There is this both sides. And this is very important because if we don't understand this, we can think, oh, everyone, everybody, every person has this radiant light. It's not me, it's not mine, it's every complete person. And this is true. But then I can stop here and say, okay, I'm already the radiant light. Why to do something, And this is not true because we have to individualize, because we are unique and we have our unique way to individualize this light, this radiant light. And this is our life. I think this is all our life, individualizing this radiant light. And for Master Dogen, we know that this means actualizing this light through whatever we are doing. Not only zazen, but cooking, but cleaning, maybe bringing your children at school or working with a computer. Each moment is opportunity, is a possibility for us to actualize this radiant light. It's like the story, I think I've talked about already, but I like this story. This old cook, that Master Dogen met in the temple, and this old cook was drying mushroom on the roof of the kitchen, and it was very warm. And Master Dogen said, "Why are you doing this?" And that implies, why don't you give this work to someone else, because it's a hard work and you're old and so on. And the old cook replies, the others are not me. We are all radiant light, and we are all individuals who have to actualize through their doings At each moment, whatever we do, we have to dry the mushroom on the roof. We cannot wait for another person to do it. So that's cool. That's the acting right in the world. So if I think that I have to individualize it without understanding that all the radiant light is already here, I'm wrong, you know. And if I think that I don't have to do anything, I'm wrong. That's Master Dogen. He, how to say, he takes from us the possibility to grasp one side. You know, as soon as I grasp one side, I'm wrong. I think everybody is radiant light, nothing, I'm wrong. I think, oh, I have to do because I'm the radiant light, like if other person were not, I'm wrong. So there is nothing to grasp. There is nothing to cling to if we understand Master Dogen. And the opposite of this light, of course, is darkness, and this darkness is ignorance. And I think that I would like to show because it's a funny way how to say ignorance with the kanji. Ignorance, we have mu, so little sun, big moon, that's all the light of the universe. And we put in this before mu, we will put mu, you know, this famous mu, that means no. But that means a no that it's a little like the cloud. It's a no that could change, you know. It's not a definitively no like this. There's something moving always. So if you want to talk about ignorance, you will say this. You will say mu, no light, you know. So that means that when I'm in ignorance, I'm somehow in the dark, you know. And it's something, well, it's not something that will happen always. It's not something that, it's not something that will happen all the time in my life because mu is always moving. And if I want to say the end of ignorance, so go back to the light, they have a very, very funny way. I don't have a pen, I cannot show, but before this first mu, they will put another mu. It will make mu, no light. That means all the light, you know. So everything is turning around the light. That's what is interesting for me. Oh yes, I wanted to show that, but it's okay. So it's the end of separation. It's something we find a lot, you know, in the teaching, to put an end to separation. We put an end to the separation between light and darkness, between our Buddha nature and our human nature. We put an end to the separation to zazen and daily life also, because there is a storeroom of the kitchen and there is a door of the temple. We put an end to the separation between Buddha and ourselves. So Master Dogen says the moon shines in the darkness. So if there is no darkness, there is no light. You cannot see the light of the moon in the daytime, you know. It's the darkness that makes the light of the moon. And it's the light of the moon that helps to see the darkness. It's not two, it's not one, it's not separated. And the more we enter in the light through our zazen, and the more we put it in practice in our life, and the more we see our own darkness. And yet, this darkness is part of the light. You know, probably the Sandokai that said, in the light there is darkness, but don't see it as darkness. And in the darkness there is light, but don't see it as light. So, a kind of conclusion. That's for me, that helps a lot because I say, I just live when I live. And I find a reason, more than a reason, a direction of practice, you know. Through zazen, the light is more present in myself and in the world, you know. And the more I understand this light, and the more I receive this light also. So this helped me to, I like this idea of changing forms of radiant light, and I think I'm one form today of this radiant light, and I was another form before, and I'll be another form after. And when I say this, I know I'm wrong because it's not like this. Actually, is this radiant light is this form. This radiant light has been another form. This radiant light will be other forms, And in between, just I have to, to keep walking on the Buddha's path. Thank you.
Want to open it up for discussion or? So.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you were talking about how, in my life at least, I kind of know when I'm in the clouds, like when you're trapped in sort of like maybe thinking too much about what's going to happen to me, or just thinking about myself maybe too much. And then I do something, I'll take a break and I'll do something, like I'll play a guitar or I'll sing a song, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now this is what you were saying, this feels right, this feels like the light is being shone. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's something I thought about. And since you mentioned like the clouds of illusion and how they're these things that you're grasping at, like, right?
Well, I'm not sure if I understand well, so I'll give some answer and you do what you can.
Yeah. Wasn't really a question.
If we look, it says that's Master Dogen said, don't look just at one side, just don't look only at the clouds, don't look on the other light, clouds and light are just one, and then this is our practice. Well, my answer is always practice zazen, because this will help you to become cool. Cool means integrating our light and our darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you were speaking.
Excuse me, we read with a mask. I can't understand.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it's hard to understand without, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
So,
I remember you were saying Suzuki Roshi, when speaking to his students, said, "You're all perfect, but you can all improve a little bit." And I feel like that is something I struggle to understand. Is the parts of my life that I want to improve, I also want to accept, but like the clouds, it's like I shouldn't erase them, but it's hard to know. I guess my question is, like, sometimes there are things you can do better, there are things you can improve, but it's hard to not reject those parts of yourself or try to erase that cloud. So I guess, yeah, I'm not sure what the question is, but I struggle with learning to accept those parts of myself that I need to improve.
sure. I mean, this is the same answer somehow, right? We all have darkness inside. I mean, and some darkness that we cannot. There was something, I like this sentence I read somewhere that said, excuse me, I have to see how to translate it. Just to sit with patience with our impossibility to go beyond something. I think this is very important. We have to be patient. We cannot integrate. I was talking about integrate, but we cannot integrate. Don't think that, okay, I'll sit that there and everything. No, we have to sit with exactly as we are. And we have to be patient with that, and maybe we will go through, and maybe not in this life. There's no guarantee, So we just have to sit with as we are, with patience, with compassion for ourselves. It doesn't mean, I excuse myself because there was this or this situation. It's not that, of course. Yeah, I am like I am, and now I want this light for me to become bigger to, and then I know there's this darkness, and I will be patient with my impossibility to go beyond. And again, maybe it will stop, and maybe it will not stop. There are things maybe in my life that I will have to sit with all my life, No, I don't, But then it will be different because I will be sitting there. I will be sitting with the whole of myself, with all that I am, with my life and with my darkness. Yeah. Yes,
Yes, one question is how do you apply?
excuse me, this I can't hear now.
How do you
Would you come, excuse me, would you come here? Thank you, William. Yeah, yeah, that's
how do you apply what you are saying to big clouds of darkness, like the practice of torture, hunger, bombing, war, and especially thinking what you said, to sit patiently with that. Obviously, that's much more difficult. So how does it relate
I
to what you
understand it. But what I'm talking about is you have to apply it with yourself first. I cannot say how someone who did war or who did terrible things as torture or so, I cannot say how this person will do. I'm not this person yet. I can say that this person also has radiant light. Maybe he just put it away, I don't know. And what he will do with that, I don't know. I'm just talking for each of us, because this is a place where we can work. I mean, spiritual. Yeah, I'm not talking in the words that we can do many things in the world also, but spiritually, what I can do is work with myself, is work with my own darkness and my own light, and I can pray that there are terrible people in this world. I can pray that someday they will learn how to see the light also. Spiritually, this is what I can do. Then I can do other things in the world. But for now, this is what Dogen is talking about. Yeah. Yes, please.
To add to what Vivian said, it seems like we've been struggling with that for thousands and thousands of years. Maybe even more. We just don't know. It doesn't feel like there is a hand to that. Anyway, for me, it's discouraging.
No, this is not discouraging. It's not good. Again, this talks about radiant light in all universe and radiant light as yourself, So I think that if you discourage yourself, you close your light, you close your light. It's just like teaching and it's off, So it doesn't help. Well, whatever you do is your life. You have, the Buddha somehow, excuse me, I'm not a Buddha, I'm clear with that. But the Buddha, he always refused to answer this kind of question, general question. Yeah, you have to do with yourself, right? And if with yourself, you feel that this is discouraging, and then you forget to look at your own light, right? You see, this is what we do. We work with ourselves, I cannot, I feel because, of course, I feel we are 21st century with all the media, and also I feel I know the world. I don't know I don't know what's going on in the world. I know one part, what the media will say, but I don't know what's going on in the world. Okay, so I personally rely on Master Dogen more than on the TV or whatever. So yeah, so I work with myself. You work with yourself, and then you work. Yeah, you work on your own light. That's the main point, right?
It seems to me like too that there's a sense of separation when we start to think about if we have to work on something before we work on ourselves, because if we understand ourselves and we understand human life, if we understand, for example, where does conflict come? How does it come about in my life? Right? Like a conflict, if I get into an argument with you, how can I resolve that? If I can learn how to resolve it in my own life, then I can do it in a bigger way. See what I'm saying? And if I can't understand how to resolve it in my own life, I can't. No one will.
The whole one, yes,
Yes, exactly.
all of us, but
We all want, but we all
and
see
we are
what it
above
also.
the dark ages
As a group, maybe,
as a group.
maybe.
So it seems like, there is, that's where I'm struggling. I don't see the results.
But we see very
Progress.
little, but we see very little in our life, the 5 eyes, no, I'm not going to tell it or something, but they've been putting something that is called the 5 eyes, with a human life, divine life, eye, Buddha's life, and so on, yeah? Human eye is a smaller. They say is like imagine that someone has been living always in some tower, high, and with a very small window like this, then everything is can see, everything you can imagine, everything is through this small window only. And on the other hand, and there is gradually differences, right? And on the other hand is a Buddha that can see all. This is the enlightenment of the Buddha, yes, past life, present life, and so on. So well, I think we have to not forget that we see everything through a very small window, and we don't know. Well, we don't know. That's a good basis.